They say every story has two sides, what we remember and what really happened. Tonight, we dive into three tales that blur the line between memory, mystery, and the supernatural. Some stories come from the darkness of forgotten towns. Some from childhood fears that never really left. And some from just outside your own home. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that might have actually happened. This is The Girl Who Came From Nowhere, The Ghost in the White Gown, and The Man in the Driveway. The Girl Who Came From Nowhere. On Halloween night, 1993, a family driving along a lonely Wyoming road stopped after spotting a young girl walking by herself in the dark. She looked about 10 years old, dressed in a skeleton costume, and seemed confused, disoriented even. Concerned, they pulled over and asked where her parents were. The girl softly replied that she was trying to find her way back home, to a place called Ataraxia Springs. But when the father unfolded his map, he realized something strange. No such town existed anywhere in Wyoming. That little girl was me. The family who found me called the authorities, but no missing child reports matched my description. They searched for my parents, people whose names and phone number I clearly remembered, but they were never found. I became the mystery child who appeared out of nowhere on Halloween night. Over the years, I was told that maybe I'd gone through something traumatic, that I had blocked out what really happened and replaced it with my own imagination. After years of therapy, I learned to accept that explanation. Until last week, something happened. Something that made me question everything I thought I knew. And now, I feel like I have to tell my story again. Because maybe it wasn't just my imagination after all. I grew up in a quiet town I remembered clearly, Ataraxia Springs. It was built beside a lake, across from an old hospital that had shut down decades earlier. Kids would tell ghost stories about it, claiming to see shadows in the windows at night. My parents, as far as I remember, were kind. I had an older sister named Marjorie who looked out for me. Life was normal until that Halloween night. I wore a skeleton costume my dad bought me. My sister, who was too old for trick-or-treating, promised to take me out anyway. Everything was fine until her friends showed up. They were older, teenagers with loud bikes and louder attitudes. One of them, Ryan, wanted to explore the old hospital across the lake. He called it the perfect Halloween adventure. I begged my sister not to go, but she didn't want to disappoint them. So, she made me come along. We rode through the woods as the sun went down. The air grew colder, the laughter of her friends echoing among the trees. I remember clutching her jacket the entire time, wishing I was home. We left our bikes on the beach and approached the lake. The water was perfectly still, like mirror reflecting the dark clouds above. Inside an old boathouse, they found a rowboat. And before I could protest, we were already drifting across the lake toward the massive shadowy building on the other side. The old sanatorium loomed over us like something alive. Inside, it smelled of dust and decay. Ryan used his lighter to see in the darkness. On the wall, someone had spray-painted words in red. "If you close the door, it's already too late." We laughed nervously, but then the door behind us slammed shut and wouldn't open again. That was when I started to feel it. The air. Heavy. Wrong. We found a staircase that led us to a room filled with old hospital beds. Some were broken, others rusted. But one bed wasn't empty. A shape lay under the sheets. My sister tried to cover my eyes, but I saw enough to know that someone or something had been lying there for a very long time. Then Ashley, one of the friends, gasped. "She's wearing my watch," she whispered. Her watch, the same crack on the glass, the same strap. Except Ashley was still wearing hers. No one could explain it. We kept searching for an exit, but the building twisted like a maze. Hallways led to nowhere. Windows looked out onto walls. Every step felt like walking deeper into a dream that didn't want us to wake up. Then came the noise, a scraping, dragging sound from down the hall. Something large was moving toward us. We hid in an old library, but the sound grew louder, closer. Ryan set fire to a few books for light, and that's when we saw it. A shape, crawling, pulling itself across the floor. It wasn't human, not anymore. Its arms were long and thin, dragging an enormous head with golden eyes that glowed like mirrors. Every time it blinked, I saw our reflection staring back. We ran. My sister carried me as we bolted through endless corridors, our footsteps echoing through the darkness. We lost 2 of her friends that night. One was taken when she fell behind. Another changed into something that no longer resembled a person at all. And then, just as I thought we'd be next, we found something impossible. A light, bright and warm, shining from a crack in the wall. Marjorie pushed me through first. I landed on cold grass beneath a dark sky. I turned back, reaching for her hand. She smiled through tears, and then she was gone. The crack sealed shut like it had never been there. That's how they found me. Alone, walking down a highway, miles away from anything or anyone. No one ever found my sister or the others. No one found Ataraxia Springs either. And maybe it never existed. But last week, while researching old Wyoming records online, I found something that froze me completely. A photograph, dated 1924. A Halloween party at a small town by a lake. A town called Ataraxia Springs. And right there, standing among the crowd, was a little girl in a skeleton costume. She looked exactly like me, the ghost in the white gown. For most of my life, I was certain I had seen a ghost. It wasn't one of those maybe I imagined it moments. No, I could remember every single detail. I must have been around 5 years old. I woke up in the middle of the night in a room I didn't recognize. The walls were pale, the curtains drawn, and the air felt cold, too cold. Then the door creaked open. A woman with long blonde hair stepped inside, wearing an old-fashioned white gown. She walked toward me slowly and said my name. My heart stopped. I didn't move. I squeezed my eyes shut in terror, praying that whatever she was, she'd just go away. And that's all I remember. When I woke up the next morning, I was home again. Nobody said anything unusual had happened, but I never forgot it. For years, that moment became my go-to ghost story. I told it at sleepovers, campfires, family gatherings, you name it. Everyone agreed it sounded like a haunting. I mean, what else could it have been? A strange room, a mysterious woman, my name, spoken softly in the dark. I had no other explanation. Fast forward more than 10 years later, I was flipping through an old photo album at home, just feeling nostalgic, when suddenly I froze. There she was, the ghost, same long blonde hair, same gentle face, the same white gown. But this time, I wasn't looking at a spirit. I was looking at Laurie, my mom's friend, the neighbor who used to live a few blocks away. That picture was taken years before the night I thought I saw the ghost. Back then, Lori used to wear her hair down all the time. But when I grew older, she always wore it up, so I never made the connection. I brought it up to my parents, and that's when the truth finally came out. That night of the haunting? It was the night my mom went into labor with my little brother. In a rush, my dad had carried me out of bed and dropped me off at Lori's house before driving mom to the hospital. I must have woken up in the middle of the night, in a place I didn't recognize, while Lori came in to check on me. Her hair was down. She was wearing a white nightgown. She said my name to comfort me. And I, half asleep and terrified, turned it into a ghost story that lasted over a decade. So yeah, after all those years, it turned out my paranormal experience was just a very kind neighbor making sure I was okay. And honestly, that might be even better than a ghost story. The Man in the Driveway, full-length horror story. It was one of those evenings where the world felt half asleep. The sun had already dipped below the horizon, and everything outside was tinted in that cold, bluish hue that only happens right before full darkness. I remember that specific shade of blue vividly, how it seemed to hang in the air, how quiet the neighborhood felt. The kind of silence that makes every small sound, crickets, footsteps, the hum of streetlights, feel louder than usual. I was heading out to meet some friends. It wasn't anything special, just a casual hangout, maybe grab a bite, talk nonsense until late. But what I remember most was that uneasy calm in the air that night, like the world was holding its breath. As I backed out of my driveway and turned onto the street, my headlights swept across the corner house a few doors down. And that's when I saw him, a man, standing completely still in his driveway. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there in the shadows, facing slightly towards the street. His arms were bent in an odd, unnatural way, elbows out, wrists angled sharply upward, almost like those old Egyptian paintings of pharaohs or mummies. At first, I thought maybe he was stretching or posing for something. But he didn't move, not even a twitch. The light from my headlights barely reached him, so I couldn't make out his face. I slowed down instinctively, trying to figure out what I was looking at. But after a few seconds, I just laughed it off. Maybe he was rehearsing for an acting class, or one of those eccentric neighbors who did weird yoga routines outside. Whatever it wasn't my business. I kept driving. A few hours later, around midnight, I headed back home. The streets were almost empty now, except for the occasional passing car. Most of the houses were dark, porch lights off, blinds drawn. As I turned into my street, the same uneasy quiet settled back in. And then I saw him again, still there, still standing in the exact same spot, same pose, same shadows, only this time with the full darkness and my headlights directly on him. He looked different. His skin, or whatever I could see of it, was unnaturally pale, almost gray. His mouth slightly open, his eyes wide but unfocused. He looked wrong. I slowed down again. For a moment, the thought crossed my mind. Maybe he needs help. Maybe he's hurt, or having some kind of medical episode. But something about him, the way he was so still, froze me in place. He wasn't slumped or struggling to stand. He was just frozen, perfectly motionless. My rational brain tried to explain it. Catatonic state, sleepwalking, maybe even a mannequin someone put there as a prank. But none of those explanations made sense when you were there, seeing him with your own eyes. The air felt heavy. I remember gripping the steering wheel tighter, debating whether to roll down my window and say something. But before I could, I noticed something else. His head. It was slowly turning, not fast, barely perceptible, but enough that I knew it wasn't a trick of the light. He was turning to face me. My stomach dropped. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak, every sound outside my window felt like footsteps. At one point, I even thought I saw movement through the blinds. A faint shape near the edge of my yard. The next morning, I convinced myself to go check the corner house. In daylight, maybe I could make sense of it. When I got there, I parked across the street. The driveway was empty. No footprints, no signs of anyone having stood there. The house looked abandoned, peeling paint, cracked windows, weeds everywhere. I walked around to the side fence, and that's when I noticed something strange. Behind the house was a cemetery. I'd known about the cemetery, of course. It stretched out along the edge of the neighborhood, right where the forest began. But what I hadn't realized was just how close it was to this house. The backyard fence had collapsed in some places, directly opening into the graveyard. I could see old tombstones leaning at odd angles, some half swallowed by the earth. And something else, something I hadn't noticed before. Near the back of the property, there was a small shed. The door was slightly ajar. A gust of wind pushed it open, revealing a glimpse of what was inside. A tall human-shaped mannequin, its arms bent upward, its skin painted gray. I stumbled backward, heart racing. A mannequin, that had to be it. Maybe kids had dragged it into the driveway as a prank. Maybe that's what I saw that night. But deep down, I didn't believe it. Because as I stared at that shed, I realized something even worse. The mannequin inside didn't have a head. That night, I couldn't resist. I parked my car at the end of the street, lights off, and waited. It was stupid, I know, but I needed to know if he'd appear again. Midnight came, then 1 o'clock. The street stayed quiet. At some point, I started to doze off until a sound jolted me awake. A faint scraping noise. It was coming from the direction of the corner house. I leaned forward, heart pounding. The scraping grew louder, metal against concrete, slow and deliberate. Then through the dim light, I saw movement. A figure was stepping out of the shadows of the driveway. Tall, thin, pale. Its arms were in that same impossible position. Only this time, its head was gone. Just a smooth gray stump where a face should have been. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. It turned toward me, or at least its body did, and began to move. Not walking, but gliding. Each step scraped against the concrete, like metal dragging against stone. I slammed my car into reverse and sped away, my tires screeching as I turned the corner. I didn't stop until I was back home with every door locked. The next morning, I told myself I had to see it in daylight again, to prove to myself that none of it was real. When I drove past the house, something new caught my attention. The shed in the backyard was gone, completely gone. The door, the walls, everything had been torn down overnight. And in the middle of the yard, right where the shed had stood, was a single fresh patch of dirt, like something had been buried there. I don't drive that way anymore. Neighbors say the city finally bought the property to demolish the house and extend the cemetery fence. But every now and then, when I take the long route home, I glance down that old street. The house might be gone now, but the driveway still remains, cracked, empty, and sometimes, only sometimes, when the light hits it just right at dusk, you can still see a faint outline. 2 footprints, and a dark human-shaped stain that never quite washes away. 3 stories, 3 truths that hide in plain sight. A girl lost between worlds, a ghost that never was, and a man who still stands, waiting, in the driveway by the cemetery. Sometimes horror doesn't need monsters or jump scares. Sometimes it's the questions that stay unanswered and the memories that never fade. If you enjoyed tonight's stories, leave the lights off, because we're just getting started. This has been The Girl Who Came From Nowhere, plus the ghost in the white gown, plus the man in the driveway. Thank you for listening, and remember, sleep with one eye open